In this special edition of Business Connect, we focus on smart cities, being by themselves a new pillar of economic development. They will also integrate other traditional pillars oriented towards technology and innovation, another step to attract more investments and increase the country's wealth and prosperity by the creation of new jobs. Roshan Assamal talks to Charles Cartier, chairman of the Economic Development Board, and Sanjeev Molu, corporate consultant for investors.
Sanjeev Molu, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes of your time. You're a corporate consultant and you're also involved in the highly successful Investors Mag. On this edition, you focused on smart cities and there was a lot of information involved in it, but also a lot of technology packed in this magazine. Can you tell us why was the need for Mauritius to have such a magazine on the market?
You've just mentioned a very important word, which is technology. And we are in 2019, July, so almost running into 2020. And in a postmodern context, like we live in Mauritius, especially we are the doorstep of Africa, which is an awakening giant, we need to give our entrepreneurs, our thinkers, our professionals, and people who are decision makers of this country an intellectual resource. And nowadays, it's not just about knowledge base, not just intellectual resource. We need relational capital. You have to plug it with relationships. You have to plug it with contacts, plug it with markets, with networks. So Investors Mag represents this huge platform whereby all this population I just mentioned, they read, they understand, they watch. We'll come to watching later on, and they interact. Plus, they meet, because Investors Mag is not just a paper-based quality publication. It's about events around business people, around the deciding community, those who take decisions. So we are creating this platform which has never happened before. If you look at this issue, for example, we deal on smart cities. No publication has gone deep into this aspect with various multidisciplinary I would say contributions. You have professionals, you have market players, you even have authorities. The CEB, the RDA, the CWA, the Wastewater Management Authority. So you are having a multidisciplinary national conversation with people who are professionals and going deep into the matter. We look into visionary aspects. You talk of smart cities. This is something that is happening only now. And it's not just a budgetary measure now, it is happening. So we talk about those visionary industries coming up.
From what you just said, would you agree that the information in Investors Mag is world-class information for Mauritius and also investors abroad?
Indeed, if you go through the magazine and you look at the contents, you will find, for example, in this issue, we have the chairman of EDB, Mr. Charles Cartier, who speaks on smart cities. Now, we shouldn't forget something. The EDB is Mauritius in the whole world and attracting the whole world to Mauritius. And not just anyone, it's investors. And thousands of copies of this magazine are being distributed with the potential investors worldwide. So this is where we are positioning Mauritius as a place to be, as a place to live, as a place to do business.
When I was reading the Investors Mag on page 2 or 3, I was requested to download an app called Zappa. And I came to know that while reading the articles, there was a code that I could scan through the Zapper app, and it would lead me to a video that would pertain to what I had just read. It was more or less like an interview. So that's the first of a kind in Mauritius, where you have videos accompanying an article. Why was the need for Investors Mag to do this?
Whenever you read magazines, you just read a magazine, you go through it, you peruse the whole thing, and you leave it there. And what's left is your memory and your actions afterwards. Whereas with this particular publication, you have the ability to watch the person talking to you, the person we've interviewed. So you can watch him or her on the magazine itself using your mobile. All you have to do is just download the app, the QR code is on the magazine itself, and lo, you have the person talking to you live and direct. Our ambition is to become the resource for business and economic news in Mauritius every single day.
Sabona, South Africa, a sublime country, birthplace of leaders who inspired the world. So close to you, another land offers new opportunities. Mauritius, an island molded by willpower, a country carved in enthusiasm, a republic shaped with diversity. A land where dream out loud is possible. A blissful lifestyle in a vibrant economy. A fertile land for fresh ideas and innovative minds, all within the stretch of a hand. Driven by passion, we are cruising towards a future, a new thrust that will redefine business. Today, Mauritius proudly walks alongside global and regional giants, envied by the past, admired by the present, and glorified by the future. Mauritius has all the qualities to stay a class above. In a staggering 4 decades, this young African republic challenged the impossible. As it cruises towards a glorious future, Mauritius offers itself as a driving force to help your business soar to new heights. Together, we will pave the way for more prosperity. Tot ziens en hoop om jou gauw te zien in Mauritius.
Charles Gauthier, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes of your time. You're the chairman of the EDB, which is the Economic Development Board, and in the quarterly edition of Investors Mag, focus was on smart cities. You were also on the cover, and by reading it, I got to know that the EDB focuses a lot on smart cities. So why has this concept become so important for Mauritius now? Smart cities, as you were saying, is of utmost importance for the future development of Mauritius. And there are a few reasons behind this. I would say firstly, we have our classical pillars, as you know, manufacturing, agriculture, ICT, BPO, financial services, and so on. And if we rely only on those pillars, we will be very limited in terms of future growth. So we need new pillars. This is one very important thing. And within these classical pillars, we really need to reinvent them. And smart cities play a key role in reinventing the way we look at our economy. I will take some examples. One of the strongest pillars we have in Mauritius is tourism. So when you look at tourism, it's not just tourism, it's the way that we host guests from the rest of the world. We have seen tourism just on one type of tourism, that is 5-star hotels, honeymooners, people who want to take the advantage of our sandy beaches and so on. We cannot restrict ourselves to this. One new area of development, which in itself would be a new pillar, is what we call the silver economy. And the silver economy, very close to the tourism industry, because why? You are welcoming foreigners in Mauritius, but specific type of foreigners, those who have silver hair. So that is retired people. We do retired homes for them, and they spend the last years of their lives on a nice paradise island of Mauritius. So this is one industry with a very bright future. Why does it have a bright future in Mauritius? Because we have this culture of tourism, of welcoming people. We have this culture of really excellence in terms of the services we can offer. And above all, Mauritius is the most stable country in this part of the world. So we are among very few countries which can attract foreign retired people and give them a quality of life that is exceptional. Where do you develop this type of industry? This is where the concept of smart city is key.
You have given us an overview of what is a smart city and what is to be expected, but it sounds so dreamy. How do you even start a smart city? What is the concept before you begin a smart city? Can you share this with us?
So a number of things. So we look at the different economic activities that we want to see develop in Mauritius, and we create the conditions that will allow them to develop within a certain perimeter. And that perimeter is the smart city. So what are these activities? I've named one, the silver economy. I can name the entertainment industry. Among this, the cinema industry, which is another one. We can also name the educational hub. And let me talk a little bit more about the educational hub. Mauritius has an important role to play in Africa to train the next leaders of the continent. And we are best positioned for a number of reasons. I would say the first one, I talked about it, is stability, but the most important one is we are the only country that really has bilingualism, French, English. French and English are the most used languages on the continent. So this is a living bilingual country, and we go even further than this. Our legal system is a hybrid system, French and English system. And the kind of advantages we get from it means that a university like Paris-Assas comes to Mauritius and say, I will give legal studies, I will do that in Mauritius, because the students are able to live the subtlety of a legislation where you have those two inputs, the French Code Napoleon and the common law being applicable in Mauritius, with people who are practicing in this system
on a day-to-day basis.
Let's now talk about numbers. How many smart cities are being developed around in Mauritius? How many are private? How many are public?
We have 8 smart cities which have been granted with a license. Most of them are private. We do also have Côte d'Or. We have Jinfei, which is mostly public, but with Jinfei, which is part private, part public. But what we have to understand is that for most of them, the idea of partnership between public and private, and the idea that it is successful only because both government and private investors are working towards that common target, this is a sine qua non condition for the success. Let me tell you some things on this. One of the reasons why we are able to get all this investment happening, and people need to understand, it's not easy to convince private individuals to risk their money on a new venture. One of the reasons why we are successful in that venture of encouraging and having private sector to invest is because the government are giving concession rates on a number of things. In terms of tax incentive, 8 years tax holidays, in terms of VAT not being applicable for the investment in those smart cities. So all of this is the public support to these ventures. But believe me, I think we in Mauritius are creating the conditions for more of them to boom.
The concept of smart cities sounds very dreamy, but of course it requires a lot of investment, and you require people to come and invest their money in Mauritius. How does the EDB go about this concept and convincing people that these smart cities are very worthwhile?
In Mauritius, we have taken one decision years ago that we will have a strong private sector. So we're relying on that sector to be able to invest. We know what is the level of efficiency of public investment versus private investment, which is why the only way to be successful is for the government to come, give incentives, create the right conditions. Now, I think there is one point of concern, which is normal, that people might think, okay, all focus and all investment will go on these areas. But let me tell you, we are going in a direction where these facilities will be extended in other areas of Mauritius. So we will be able to talk about it a little bit later, but for the time being, what's very important to understand that we are creating areas all across the island where there are investment spots and where there are new poles of development being created.
Mr. Charles, I have to ask you this question, but you might not like it. Smart cities as a concept sounds very good, but the effectiveness of it is a different story. So how do you address this issue from the EDB?
So I have to say the first thing is that when we talk of these 8 smart cities, they concretely are visible. They are not just projects, and the investment is being made, the development is already being made, number of jobs have already been created. To date, there has been 9 billion rupees of investment in smart cities. 9 billion rupees, it is huge, right? In the next 5 years, we'll see about 40 billion rupees investment. So already being planned in the next 5 years. I think it's very important today that the young look at the future, look at what's in for them in the future, and how they can develop the skills to be in tune with the requirements of tomorrow.
Mr. Charles Cartier, thank you very much for your time. It has been a pleasure having you for this episode of Business Connect.